Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hello, and welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I am Ann, your host for today's episode, and I am so excited to be here with my friend and Springs in the Desert teammate, Stacey, for today's desert reflection. Hey there, Stacey.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me today.
Oh, of course. Love having you here. And you are the perfect person to be here today for today's topic. Now, this is one of our mini-sodes, so I want to just jump right in. Today, we're talking about the ways that parish life can be a little bit challenging for those of us who are in a season of infertility or loss. And so you are a great person to be with us to talk about this, because not only do you have experience navigating parish life in a season of infertility, but you yourself work for a parish. So you're going to give us the insider's view on all of that. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. So let's just get started. And maybe you could, Stacey, start by laying out just what some of those challenges are that a couple who finds themselves in a season of infertility or loss might be facing in their parish.
Sure. So I am the youth and young adult ministry coordinator at my parish, and I've been working there for going on 10 years. And we have a parish that is very family oriented, incredibly family oriented, which is a huge gift and blessing. But like Anne indicated, it can feel really isolating sometimes when the parking lot is filled with 12 and 15 passenger vans and I drive a Toyota Corolla. And I think my husband and I did marriage prep at our parish. And so like right away in that process, we were taught the natural family planning, which was a huge gift. Our parish actually provides the Creighton classes and pays for us to go through all the Creighton classes, which is incredible.
Wow.
But it's taught from this perspective of this is how you help you space kids, and then also like, and this added bonus of helping you get pregnant. And so it was sort of just like, here's an alternative to birth control. And then like a few years down the road from there, with not being able to get pregnant and seeing all the people around you in the pews, filling a whole pew up, it just feels really, really isolating. And then the questions start to come from other parishioners and or coworkers of, when are you going to get pregnant? When are you going to start trying? And you just start to just kind of like sink in. And I don't know, it makes you almost like take a back seat, and it feels like everything around you is moving and growing, and you're just like kind of stuck. And it feels
Yes.
really isolating to be in that place. And also people like who intend to be helpful will offer the solutions. I've been offered the powder from the cave in Jerusalem.
Yes, the milk grotto. Me too.
The milk grotto, yeah. And yeah, so like those kinds of things begin to feel just like you're misunderstood, and that you don't belong. That maybe this is for the people with the big families, and and maybe you don't belong here because you can't live up to that image that you've created.
Yeah, no, I have felt the same way. And what makes it so hard, I think, Stacey, is that our parish family is a family, right? And like, this is God's house, and this is where we go to worship and where we seek, comfort. And it feels like this is a place of refuge for us, right? But when we're in this season of infertility, sometimes it can feel almost like anything but that. And so you're right, like assumptions that people might make about us, or intrusive questions, or even having pastors who love us and care for us, but maybe don't always understand or know exactly how to help us out. And then, of course, balancing that idea of celebrating the gift of children with acknowledging those couples who don't have children, and I think even unmarried people in our parishes, and how they too can really contribute to parish life. And so let's kind of move in that direction now, because I think our listeners probably have their own list of challenges that they have faced in parish life. So let's kind of move into how we can get ourselves more involved. How can we, as people who are maybe in a season of infertility, become more involved in parish life? And maybe if you have some suggestions from the other side of the fence where you are as somebody who works at a parish, how can parish ministers or even our pastors maybe be a little bit more inviting?
That's a great question. So I would say, in my experience, it took this immense amount of courage to begin opening up and sharing with the people around me that this is difficult, what I'm going through, and sometimes it took explaining more than one time for people to catch on. And if you're at that place where maybe you haven't spoke up and said something, I guess I'm praying for you, because I get that that's a really hard place to be, but it's really worth it in the end when people start to realize, like, okay, there's this cross that I didn't understand before, and now I can take the steps to try to walk with this person. And after this was probably just like 2 or 3 years ago, one of my coworkers, she is in charge of the petitions at Mass, and I heard this petition at Mass that was for pregnant mothers who are struggling, and also for those who long to become mothers. And so it was just really beautiful. I realized, like, oh, they're recognizing what's going on here, and to put those people in the same petition, I'd never even imagined that, both for pregnant mothers and those who desire to be mothers. And that was a huge gift. And I reached out to her afterwards to say, where did you get that petition? And she said that she wrote it. And so it was just this huge gift that she could see what I was going through by my, being willing to open up and share. And the same thing with my pastor. My pastor is super kind, and it still took a lot courage, I think, to meet with him and talk with him about what I was going through. And I remember sharing with him some of our resources from the Springs in the Desert website. And now, he gets it. I don't know. He just has this understanding that he didn't before, not because of any fault of his own. So I just encourage you, if you are in that place, to speak up, to have the courage to speak up. And then also, like, just recognize and know that the church needs you, and those feelings of isolation, even though they're very hard and difficult, and I totally understand that the Lord wants to use your gifts to serve your church. And there's so many things in the church that could use your spiritual motherhood. And I mean, like, for me, it's youth and young adult ministry. For somebody else, it could look like joining the choir or lecturing. My husband and I got involved with Worldwide Marriage Encounter, and we actually this past weekend made an announcement at Mass about an upcoming encounter weekend in October at our parish. And in that announcement, we shared how when we were invited to go, we were super cautious about going on the encounter weekend because we didn't have any kids, and we were worried that it would be centered around kids, because it feels like the whole parish life can be that way. And so I reached out to the organizers and asked, like, is this about having kids? And they said, no, it's about your relationship as a couple. And so not only did that give me the reassurance that I wasn't going to feel so isolated, but it also helped them understand where I was coming from, and that I was really cautious, just about going on the experience. And so the being willing to open and share, it's really helpful. But know that, like, not everybody's going to receive you with such open arms, and that's hard. And there might be some suffering there in that experience if whoever you decide to share with doesn't receive you that way.
Right. I love that, what you just said about marriage encounter, and like the way that you were sort of able to bring something to their attention that maybe they didn't realize, or maybe they didn't put much emphasis on it, but it kind of put that on their radar. And so you probably in some way, maybe changed or impacted how they run that particular retreat. So you're right. I mean, if we're able to kind of step out and encourage, and, it's not our responsibility to educate the whole world, and we might not always feel equipped to speak up like that. But if and when we can do that, we don't know what kind of impact that might have. And then you being able to go up and announce at your parish, to be able to announce that this retreat was coming up, and to be able to put in that aspect of infertility. I mean, who knows who was in the pews that day who was thinking exactly what you had thought when you were first approached about it. So yeah, I love that. I wonder in our last few moments if you had any ideas about some specific things that people can do, maybe something couples can do together. Like I wrote down some things. I mean, maybe just coming to your pastor with some ideas that you might have, or like getting involved in the planning for the festival or picnic that the parish has, or maybe getting involved with the gardening around the parish. I thought about like, wow, what about planting a Mary garden? And, maybe a couple, you and your husband could go to the pastor and say, hey, we'd like to plant a Mary garden and we'll tend it. I mean, I think there's ways that we can be really creative in thinking about how we can get involved in the parish. It doesn't only have to be, well, I'll do youth and young adults or marriage prep. I don't know if you had any thoughts or ideas.
I think that's really important to point out. I think that a lot of times people feel like they're boxed in, like to, oh, you can't have kids, so you can have kids by leading a religious ed class or youth ministry or whatever. But really, we're called to live out this creativity in our marriages, and doing that at the parish level is a huge gift and blessing. And so, any way that you can be creative to get involved with parish life by all of those things Anne mentioned, one thing that just came to mind is helping with marriage prep, because there are couples that might not know it yet, but they may struggle with infertility after they get married. That would be a huge gift. Helping with RCIA or OCIA, as it's called now, those people who are desiring to become Catholic, walking with those people. My husband and I have this group that we go out to breakfast with on Sunday mornings after Mass, and it's like our young adult breakfast club. And that's been a huge gift too, to walk with some other young people, because a lot of times I think it's easier to relate to those who are experiencing like the single life, or people who are newly married who don't have kids yet. And so that's sort of the crowd we find ourselves with a lot. And so to create a community in that environment has been a tremendous gift for us. Yeah, I mean, the list could go on and on. So don't be limited. Don't let yourself be boxed in by what people think you should do, but rather allow yourself to be called to what it is that God's putting in the path for you to get involved in your parish.
Oh, I love that, Stacey. You're right. We could go on, and we'll have to pick up this conversation again. But I think that that's a great note to end on. Just look for where God is calling you. Be creative and kind of look outside the box. Stacey, this has been so great. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you, Anne.
And listeners, if you have any suggestions of your own ways that you participate in parish life, or if you come up with any creative suggestions, please let us know. And we encourage you to share this podcast episode with your pastor, or with other people in your parish, your family and friends. Just know that we are here with you. We have a lot of resources on our infertility awareness page. We have our 5 things I wish my pastor knew about infertility, and lots of great resources that we're really happy to share with you. So until next time, thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.